because the upper atmosphere has been rented in some way, has been torn in such a way as to let those things through. So I've been all the way from the most evil intent to the most beneficent. But in either case, I want to know. I wanted to know. I just want to know. I want someone in an official capacity to speak about it openly. Because whenever something happens, and like I said, it's I've learned an awful lot about human beings through this process. Because I insist that this is happening, that this is real, and that it's not normal. That there's something happening, there's something under the table going on that's not being talked about, and yet it's happening in broad daylight, visibly. It's affecting everybody. It's certainly, it's no longer the joy it used to be to go hiking in the mountains, to go outside to ride my bike. I've had more upper respiratory and lower respiratory and sinus infections and health problems in the last 5 years than I have in all my life combined. And so that's part of my concern, and also a lot of the people that I care about have been very ill. But in terms of, are they going to stop it because the public is concerned? Well, the public is going to have to get really, really concerned in a very, very big way. And the thing that, now that's a cynical view. A paranoid view is that, well, if the public does have a big outcry against this, well, we already know they can blatantly spray us with whatever the hell they please, and it could be, they could put us to sleep or something, they could put something in, some tranquilizers or something. We'd just be walking zombies. In a lot of ways, I think a lot of our population are walking zombies. I mean, the level, the general lack of the ability to think critically about anything outside of one's own personal life, safety, football games, is astounding to me. The hopeful view is that they're going to stop this at some point during my lifetime so that I can see blue skies again. And you know what? I've never ever had that feeling before until this started, that there's actually one thing I want to see before I die, and that is a really deep blue sky.
The following is a transcribed interview between Clifford E. Carnicom and Gwen Scott, naturopathic doctor and former CNN broadcaster, recorded in February of 2004. Question: when did you become aware? When did you find out? How did you find out about the existence of these operations and whether they are real or not? Response: well, it's interesting, because I realized that if I had been any place else on the planet, I might not have noticed. And so I am wondering how I ended up in the catbird seat to actually observe this operations. As you know, I live in a very rural area, and when I first moved here, the air was pristine. We had deep, deep blue, azure skies, thousands of stars literally at night. Probably one of the least polluted air supplies in this United States, because New Mexico is a very rural state, very few people, very little industry. It's one of the things that drew me here. So here I was sitting, reading in front of a 5-foot by 5-foot bay window one day, and I see these jets. I assume they're jets. They're high and they're going fast, and they're not leaving the little 2-inch things that I'm used to seeing. They're leaving those huge plumes through the sky that spread out, and by 3 or 4 in the afternoon, it's foggy. It's so thick I can't see the mountain range. I can't see anything. And it's been continuous and ongoing ever since, to the degree now that the skies are so degraded that we never see deep blue skies anymore. Stars at night are hard to find. Everybody is getting accustomed to the pale blue, often white skies that we live with. But I see them going over, and I've taken hundreds of photographs showing this is not your normal contrail that should dissipate. Question: You notice a distinct change then from the 1990 era? Response. Distinct is not the word. Dramatic, devastating. You can pick out any adjective you want. It is dramatically changed, the atmosphere. Dramatically. Yes, extremely distinct. Question. You live on Native American Indian land here. What is the sense of and the reaction of the Native American community to what is occurring? Well, it's interesting. I figured if anybody would pick up on it, it would be the Native Americans. And so I immediately went to friends of mine in the community and said, "Have you guys noticed?" And they are like, "Oh yes, we know absolutely what is going on." In fact, all 13 of the Pueblo governors had a meeting in secret to discuss it, what they would do. Would they come out and protest it openly? What would they do? And after this meeting, they determined the following things. No, they would not. That it was just another dumb thing the white guy was doing. And at that point, I don't think they understood the true significance. But now I think they do. But more importantly, that people wouldn't believe them. Or if they did believe them, would think it was only happening in this very confined space, and it really didn't affect them. And they were concerned for the gaming, that people wouldn't come to the casinos and things because they would think that just this area was experiencing it. So they voted unanimously to not say anything. Question. So even the Native American community did not show the level of independence or the level of assertiveness to make this an issue? Response. It was heartbreaking to me. But they're a little more philosophical, too. One of the medicine people that's a friend said to me, "You know, this has been prophesized. We call it the death winds. We always thought that it would be nuclear fallout. But maybe this is the death winds." They have a very skeptical view anyway of what the white man's intentions are. Comment. And with good cause. Response. And with good cause. And with history behind it. So, and they've also lost every battle, basically, they have fought that way. But I think as more and more of them get sick, and they are, there is maybe a wider awakening that this is really, really serious. Question. You have a background in the world of journalism, and specifically broadcast journalism. Can you talk a little bit about that background, and also the relationship of the media to what is occurring, what has failed, what has worked, any efforts that you have made to motivate the media to involve themselves in this, to cover this issue? Response. Yes, well, you and I are friends now, so you know that I was in broadcasting for 30 years. I worked for all 3 affiliated networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, in many of the larger markets, and I culminated my career as an anchor at CNN and Headline News. So the medicine part of me was kind of going along as my passion, and so I made my living and had my career as a broadcaster. And any free time I had was spent studying the medicine, because that was where my true heart lay. So I have over the years a lot of really good contacts in some pretty high places in the media. But I would imagine pretty much everybody watching this will know there has been dramatic changes in the media. Who owns the media? The quality of human now being attracted into the media. In other words, why are they there? When I started, it was mostly all print folk, and they kind of had to tell us, you know, come on, clean up your act. This is visual. But people were coming from the old school of journalistic, afflict the comfortable, and comfort the afflicted, and you are the watchdog, and you go for that story, and you never accept the official version, and on and on and on. Most of the media and information we get now is owned by only 3 companies. When they deregulated, the FCC deregulated, they allowed these huge, like AOL, Time Warner, to gobble up. So you've got these large entities controlling all the information, whether it's film, radio. Okay. So the complexion has changed, and I would say the kind of person drawn into it, when it became a place where you could make a really good living, and people would go, "Oh, I know you, you're so-and-so." It drew people with different agendas. So you don't necessarily have the hardcore, old-fashioned, get the story. I don't care if my hair is a mess. I don't care if I'm dripping wet. There's a few out there still, but for the most part. So that's that. And yes, When this started, I called in every